Razz. Razz is a modification of 7-card stud. However, the goal is to make the worst hand rather than the best hand, with straights and flushes playing no part in the game. You measure your hand by taking the 5 lowest cards from your 7-card hand, then arranging them from highest to lowest, with 5, 4, 3, deuce, ace being the best possible hand. You may not use a card more than once, and the ace counts as a low card representing the number 1. Here's an example of how to determine your hand strength. In this example, a player with Jack 8, Ace 5, 6, 4, Queen would not play the Queen or Jack as he only needs 5 cards. Then he would take the remaining cards and place them in order from highest to lowest. In this example, 8, 6, 5, 4, Ace. Now compare it to this hand, Ace, Deuce, 3, 4, 9. While this might seem to be the better hand, it is in fact the loser of the two. This is because the 9 low is beaten by the 8 low. The reason why they count from your top card down rather than the low card up is players dealt Ace, Deuce, 3 would be almost guaranteed winners, taking much of the luck and all the fun out of the game. Dealing the game. To play Razz, 2 to 8 players are required. Each player is first dealt 3 cards. 2 private cards dealt face down and 1 card face up. Then the player with the highest card face up starts the action. Players then take their turns in a clockwise rotation. After each player has taken their turn, another card is dealt face up. From this moment on, the player with the best hand showing starts the action. Another card is dealt face up with a round of betting. Then 1 more face up card is dealt, followed by another round of betting. Then each player is dealt a card face down, followed by the last round of betting. Players then turn all their cards face up, and the best hand is rewarded the pot. Betting. Each game begins with every player placing an ante. This is a tiny bet to encourage players to involve themselves in hands rather than just sitting back and waiting for powerful starting cards. An example of this would be a $1, $2 game where the average buy-in is around $20, where players would be asked to ante 10 to 20 cents per hand. Once cards have been dealt, the player with the highest card showing must place a bet. This is known as the bring-in. In a $1, $2 game, a player must bet a quarter, but they also have the option to raise it to a full dollar if they wish. After the bring-in is placed his bet, players must choose to check, call, fold, or raise. Check is when a player chooses to pass on his turn to bet. If, however, a player has already bet, he must either call, fold, or raise. Call is when a player chooses to match another player's bet, allowing them to continue the hand. Fold is when a player chooses to forfeit his hand, so it does not need to match any more bets. A bet or raise is when a player chooses to place a wager on his having the best hand, which all players must match in order to continue. There's a limit of 3 to 4 bets or raises on any one round depending on house rules. The size of bets are limited depending on which round players are on. For example, in a $1, $2 game, players may only bet in $1 increments for the first 2 rounds, and only $2 increments for the remaining 3 rounds. Basic strategy tips. You should always try to begin a hand with 3 cards which are 8 or less. However, the fewer players at the table, the more you can relax your starting requirement. When all players before you have folded, and all players behind you have a higher face-up card than you, raise to try to steal the pot even if your hand isn't that strong. If a player calls your raise with a bad card showing, he probably has very strong cards hidden. So don't be afraid if that player gets an ace or deuce later, as he most likely already had that card. Because players only use 5 of 7 cards dealt to them, 2 of the cards are essentially blanks. Therefore, by removing the 2 worst cards from their 4 known cards,